So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the ERIM Awards ceremony 2023. It's really nice to see so many of you here. It's also equally intimidating, to be very honest. So, very nice seeing you all here in person rather than through a screen. And we are here to uplift your fellow colleagues, but also to celebrate excellence in research. And also the achievements of our research community. So, in line with the EUR's recognition and rewards new philosophy, we are making steps moving away from only recognizing research output in terms of quantity. We are also looking at the processes of research and ultimately on the quality of the contributions all of you make as unique individuals. The mission of ERIM is research excellence, and we are making everything we can to support our researchers in that direction. By celebrating today, what we do is to encourage one another to improve and excel in accordance to our values. And on that note, I would really like to take a moment to thank and also celebrate the ERIM office, my colleagues, that I came early. So most of the team is here, and they work really hard to provide top-tier research support to carry out the mission of ERIM. And basically, what it does, it gives rise to this very occasion to celebrate success. So once again, please give them a round of applause. Thank you so much. And now we move on to the presentation of the awards for this year. This year we're handing out 4 different awards, 4 categories. So Best Full-Time PhD Dissertation, Top Article Award, Outstanding Performance by a Young Researcher, and of course, Open Science Award. For the first award, the Best Full-Time PhD Dissertation, I would like to invite on stage Floor Boudou, the Director of Full-Time PhD Education at ERIM, and Niels Rietveld, the Director of Doctoral Education at EAZ. Please come join me on stage.
So, good morning, everyone. Very good to see you here. And good news, I think. We have actually not 1, but 2 winners for the ERIM Best Full-Time PhD Dissertation Award. And without further ado, the first winner is Gizem Yassine Williams for her dissertation in marketing, if you are wondering, titled Consumers in the Age of AI, Understanding Reactions Towards Algorithm and Humans in Marketing Research. And let me say a little bit about what the jury said about Gizem's work. Dr. Gizem Yassine Williams is no stranger to the award stage. In 2017, she won the Professor Brown's Prize for Research Master students who excel in terms of academic performance. In 2021, she took home the American Marketing Association's Matthew Joseph Emerging Scholar Award, which celebrated her holistic scholarship. And now she wins our 2023 ERIM Best Full-Time PhD Dissertation Award. With her dissertation work, she was literally ahead of the curve by beginning to ask salient questions on how humans interact with artificial intelligence well before most humans even realized that they were already interacting with artificial intelligence on a daily basis. Her dissertation work presents a holistic contingency framework and addresses important questions on how consumers respond to algorithmic decisions. It shows that consumers do not react negatively to all such decisions, but that decision receptiveness differs with decision valence, subjective knowledge, and decision complexity. Dr. Yassine Williams is a deserved winner, as her dissertation work is a hallmark of foresight and relevance. Currently, Gizem lives abroad in the US, where she found a very nice job. So her supervisor, Anne-Catherine Klesser, is here with us today to receive the award.
Like this? Lots of carrying. Lots of carrying to do.
Yeah, on behalf of GISEM, I'd like to say that she's really happy to accept this award. Thank you.
So, and then you're on stage now, so I would like to ask you to please explain to us the main findings of GISEM's dissertation.
Yeah, so in GISEM's dissertation, she studies how people react to decisions made by algorithms as compared to people. She does that in a variety of different contexts beyond marketing. For instance, she also studied this in the context of legal decisions. Across all of these contexts, she documents that people feel, think and behave differently if they know that a decision was made by an algorithm as compared to a person. Just to give you one example, for instance, when people receive favorable outcomes, such as being accepted to a prestigious country club, if they know that this decision was made by an algorithm as compared to a person, they feel less positively about it.
Very interesting. And of course, after her PhD, GISEM has launched her academic career. She's now an assistant professor, and I'm reading because it's a very long one, at the Department of Marketing, Macomb School of Business, the University of Texas at Austin. She's now an assistant professor there. And we really would like to know what was the defining factor for GISEM into launching her academic career in such a way?
Yeah, so I'm obviously quoting GISEM now. She says that there are two factors. The first one is that always, during the whole time of her PhD, she really felt treated like a researcher and not like a student, which she thinks is not common at many universities, which really shaped her mindset to feel like a researcher. And the second factor is that she felt very supported by her supervisory team, but also by the department as a whole.
That's super nice to hear. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're very welcome to stay or to leave the stage. Up to you. Perfect. And I will leave it. Then I will give it to Niels.
Yeah. Well, congratulations again to GISEM. But the next winner is Jeroen Koeneraad for his dissertation, Essays in Financial Accounting. And let me read for you the jury report. Dr. Jeroen Koeneraad started his dissertation work at ERIM in 2017, after obtaining a cum laude master's degree in accounting, auditing and control. A pivotal time in his career was a research visit to the Department of Accounting at Columbia Business School in New York between September 2019 and April 2020, which laid the foundation for both his scholarly network and scholarly ideas. His dissertation opens new avenues for the analysis of how market participants obtain and use financial information. And we, and that's the jury, particularly approve of the programmatic approach Dr. Koeneraad uses. He keenly appreciates the roles played by regulators and information intermediaries in shaping and disseminating financial information. Sincere compliments are in order for an excellently theorized and researched dissertation. Well,
there's more to it.
Jeroen is also not with us today, so his PhD supervisor, Edith Lang, is here with us to receive the award in his stead. So Edith, please join the stage.
Thank you. So, Edith, can you please explain to us, to the audience, the main findings of Jeroen's essays in financial accounting?
So first of all, Jeroen is also very grateful for this award. He can't be here because he's expecting his second child, so that's almost as important as getting this award. But Jeroen's dissertation, so essentially he's looking at the role of regulators, gatekeepers, and information intermediaries in kind of promoting transparency in the capital market. And he does so by looking at novel settings like the cryptocurrency market and also investment advisors on social media. But also he explores historical data like the development of financial audit markets. And one thing that he finds is that transparency also matters in these novel settings, but that maybe regulation is not always the method to improve transparency because there can be incentives from capital market participants to be transparent themselves.
Thank you. And also Jeroen has launched his academic career. He's currently assistant professor at the Department of Accounting at the London School of Economics and Political Science. And again, the question would be, what has been helpful for him in order to launch his academic career?
So again, I'm also quoting him because it sounds very disingenuous to say that he was very lucky to be surrounded by incredibly helpful advisors who guided, supported, and challenged him throughout. Of course, I completely agree with that. But of course, he also really values the support from ERIM and from ESC and the department, also in ensuring that he could go on a research visit, go to conferences, and build his network. So he's very grateful for that.
Thank you, Edith, for conveying Jeroen's words. And thank you all for this act. So I can now ask you to go back to your seat. Thank you. And now, give it a second. We move on to the second award for today. He's really keen on getting on stage. The Top Article Award. And for that, I would like to invite on stage Percy Hergens, the Scientific Director of ERIM, and Bex Hewitt, the Director of Part-Time PhD Education of ERIM. Please join me on stage. You need to get your mic. Yeah. You see? No, you missed the rehearsal. Sorry. There you go.
So good morning, everyone. And for the ERIM Top Article Award, we also have 2 winners this year. And we're very impressed with the quality of the nominations, as we were last year and the year before, but this year is particularly nice. Hey, the first winner of the Top Article Award, and I'm going to explain why, is ERIM's very own Flora Bridou. Congratulations. So Flora, of course, and we're counting the days, but for now she is still the Director of Full-Time Doctoral Education at ERIM, and of course also an ERIM Fellow. She's also a full professor at the Department of Business Society Management at RSM, and she's receiving the award for her article, Stakeholder Governance, Solving the Collective Action Problems in Joint Value Creation. Now here's what the jury has to say about your work, Flora, so if this feels like a trip to the dentist, bear with me. Dr. Bridou's article, co-authored with Jan Willem Stoelhorst, is not only the best cited article of all nominated submissions, it's also a very fundamental article on the nature of capitalism that really made the jury members pause and think. Many of the challenges of contemporary capitalism cannot be resolved through simple trade, which can only be self-enforcing when it tends to be beneficial to all the parties involved. But instead, addressing problems like climate change, inclusive wealth creation, and diminishing returns on healthcare innovation investments require joint value creation through collective action. The point is that all parties to such action have incentives to walk away from cooperation. Applying the thought of political scientist Elinor Ostrom to stakeholder governance, the article makes a strong plea that firms should stop thinking of themselves as clearinghouses for stakeholder interests, but what is instead needed is a different role, either as a network orchestrator or as a custodian of stakeholder governance norms. The article is a masterpiece of conceptual parsimony and cross-disciplinary thought.
The award? Clearly. I told you. Thank you. So, Floor, in a winner's seat now. So could you please tell us about the conceptual ideas you developed in your work?
Yes, so it's part of my work. I mean, in quite a bit of my work, I study how to encourage cooperation, and that's how to organize to encourage cooperation, and this is part of it. As Percy said, we make use of Elinor Ostrom's insights, and specifically her design principles, and we use these insights to think about ways to organize governance in networks of stakeholders. We understand in this paper governance broadly, and I think maybe it's why the paper is cited. We understand it broadly as meaning who can make rules, who can who gets the value, and who enforces the rules. And so in the paper we theorize based on Ostrom to conclude that there are at least 3 governance forms that could be used to encourage cooperation in stakeholder networks. One corresponds to what we have in mind when we think in strategy, in the strategy field about the firm and its stakeholders, the firm at the centers, the stakeholders around the firms make the rules, the governance rules, and enforce the governance rules, and the stakeholders around, they try to influence, through influence tactics, the rules. But Ostrom's work suggests that, in fact, there are other governance forms, forms where stakeholders play a role in setting the rules, really. They participate in setting the rules, and they participate to a larger or smaller extent in enforcing the rules. And we also in the paper illustrate that these forms exist. We use simply qualitative work that has been published or case studies published to illustrate of forms. And the conclusion we draw is that there is not one best form for all cases, but in fact that the different forms will be, their comparative efficiency will depend on the type of task stakeholders and firms want to engage in together and the type of environment they are in.
Sounds like an interesting reading. Thank you very much. And now I'll hand it over to Bex for our next winner.
Thank you. So I am delighted, as one of the things I get to do in my new role, to hand over this award. The second winner of the Top Article Award is Chen Li, a member of ERIM and an associate professor at the Department of Applied Economics at ESE. Chen is receiving this award for her article, Randomize at Your Own Risk, on the observability of ambiguity aversion. Here are some of the jury's musings on the article. One of the greatest feats of social science is to take on the complexities of human behavior and cognition and to capture these in exceedingly simple experiments. Together with her co-authors, Aurélien Bayon and Yoram Halevi, this is precisely what Dr. Chen Li has done in this clever experimental article. Theoretical interest at the interplay between randomization and ambiguity has long been strong and has recently increased even further. But the translation to experimental work calls upon researchers to meet the very practical challenge of making respondents reveal their ambiguity attitudes. With the help of an experiment with 5 between-subject treatments, Dr. Chen Li has managed to disentangle whether individuals are prone to isolate or integrate multiple decisions when these confront them simultaneously. The article offers an exemplary view of the latest generation of experiments to be used in behavioral economics. Chen is currently on maternity leave, so I would say probably more important than this. So unable to join us, so we invite Fantina Chow on stage to receive the award on her behalf.
Thank you, Fantine, for joining us today. And I would like to ask you to please tell us a bit more about Chen's paper and its findings. Can you please expand on it?
Yeah, so first, Chen would like to say thank you for ERIM, and because she's on paternity leave, and also she's in China right now, so sadly she couldn't come. So I will just briefly introduce what the paper is about. And this paper is about whether the level of observed ambiguity aversion is reflecting the true prevalence. So in decision theory, risk refers to uncertain situations with known probabilities, and such as flipping a coin that you know 50%. But for ambiguity, it refers to uncertain situations with unknown probabilities. And in fact, the uncertain situations we face in real life are mostly cases that with unknown probabilities. So that's why it's very interesting and important to study on this case. And also empirical evidence shows that people actually dislike not knowing the probabilities. So that is how we call ambiguity aversion. So far in the literature, both theoretically and empirically, there has been a debate that whether the current elicitation method of ambiguity aversion is really unveiling the true, really unveiling the true level of it. And this paper actually investigated into this issue, and they show that the most frequently used method is actually lead to a 50% of underestimation of the true ambiguity aversion in the lab experiments. And that's it.
That's another interesting read. Thank you so much. And thank you all for being here today for this act. I would like all of you, except for Percy, to please return to your seats. And now we're moving to the next award category, and that is the one of outstanding performance by a young researcher. And I would like to invite onto the stage the Associate Director of ERIM, Pilar Garcia Gomez.
So, for the ERIM Award for Outstanding Performance by a Young Researcher, let me first just say how incredibly difficult this nomination process has been. We've had more than 8 nominations, so you can count the numbers yourself, I suppose, but if either of them would have won, it would have been a great showing today. So it's been an almost impossible task, but I do think that today's winners stand out for very good reasons. So let me just say that I want to invite on stage our first winner. And it's a good thing that there's a drum roll between the pages. But the first winner is very much deserved, Khadija van der Straten. So I now have to do 3 things with 2 hands. If you already know, I think you need to wait a little, Khadija. So, but it's yours very short. It will be yours very shortly. So here are the Khadija is an associate member of ERIM and an assistant professor at the Department of Business Society Management at the Rotterdam School of Management of Erasmus University of Rotterdam. So here are the corresponding jury comments. Khadija van der Straten is one of ERIM's rising stars in the area of international business. Her work on the gender pay gap in multinational enterprises is relevant and exemplary for a number of reasons. First, it is daring because it is at the same time staunchly social constructionist in its approach, while also being quantitative. And this is a rare empirical approach, and it is something that takes considerable scholarly courage to venture in this direction because of its uncommon combination. And so, congrats for being so daring there, Khadija, and you're doing really important work. Second, it is representative of a new class of international business studies, which are no longer just content with pushing the boundaries of the theory of the multinational enterprise, but which are also keen to explore how such enterprises affect the lives, the livelihoods, and the dignity of all persons they interact with. And finally, Dr. van der Straten is also a highly engaged scholar who uses the fruits of her research to inform and fuel societal debate. Well deserved. And now it is officially yours, Khadija.
Congratulations, Khadija.
Thank you.
So we understand that being the outstanding performance is the output or the outcome of a long, dedicated journey. And our question for you is, what do you think it takes to remain outstanding in the changing research climate of these days?
Well, in all honesty, I'm the young researcher, so it would not be fair to claim it was a long journey. I'm only just getting started. And second, in even more fairness, it's I think the result of many long nights, a lot of stress, anxiety, tears. So I think it would not be fair to claim it comes easy, because I know many of us are also struggling to get research out. But it's a festive occasion. So on a more positive note, what keeps me really happy and really motivated is that here at RSM I have the freedom to do research on something I deeply care about, which are social inequalities in a global setting. And I'm very passionate about the topic. I love reading about it. I love writing about it. And I also think that's why it resonates so well with the students, with the reviewers, and even with the media. And second, it's really the encouragement of the people in my department, which is really, of course, the best department. but also very much the people at ERIM, like Percy, like Jessica, which really like motivate me to keep going.
Thank you very much for the honesty and for the answer. And let's give it over to Pilar now.
Thank you. It's well, congratulations to all the winners. It's well, I'm very happy being here. I think that this is one of the highlights of my new role. So glad to be here. But now I think it's time to announce the next winner. That is Phyllis Wan. So congratulations to Phyllis. I think I'm going to read what the jury has to say about her. Phyllis Wan received a Benny Grant in 2022 to study data-driven patterns recognition in multivariate extremes. This is an amazing feat in its own, but the theme of the grant is also a good way of understanding her broader scholarship in its own right. Modeling extreme events is challenging precisely because they are low base rate phenomena, yet their effect on society is also by definition exceptional. Financial crisis, changing weather patterns, and developments in the built environment all have a massive impact on the way we live our lives, but they cannot be captured by traditional statistical models. Dr. Wan's work helps us understand extremes better by detecting how they cluster, by understanding how they interact, and by reducing their dimensionality. The jury congratulates Dr. Wan for developing such a tantalizing and inspiring research agenda. So, Phyllis is an associate member of ERIM and an assistant professor at the Department of Econometrics at ESC. She's currently on a research visit in Germany, so cannot be here, but we invite her colleague Chen Zhao on stage to receive the award on her behalf. Okay. You have it? So, I have it, I think. So, well, congratulations. Thank you. To you, to her. So. Yeah, so you can have it.
Thank you, Chen, for being here today.
Yeah.
And can you please tell us a bit about Phyllis's take on what it takes to be outstanding in the current research climate?
Yeah. I will continue the tradition that someone picks up the award for someone else. So. But not continue the tradition because the rest all have a very long answer from the one who got the award. But I got a typical Phyllis answer. First of all, she would like to thank the jury for selecting her. And then she sent me basically 3 lines. That's also the way how we write paper together. So she has the brilliant idea, then I have fill in the proofs. So that's how we work with each other. So let's look at Phyllis' answers. Of course, I can also see a lot of words about how outstanding she is, but it partially read in the text before. So let's look at her answer. So she, of course, as a statistician, econometrician, or let's say even mathematician, so we first define the condition before giving a theorem. So she actually made a disclaimer. This is limited to experience in my own field. So it's not universally applied.
Okay.
But under this constraint, she gave 3 solutions or 3 answers. One is staying focused without distraction for as much time as possible. And that's the only line. But I think what she means is that the distraction from her, let's say, daily supervisor, which is me, and then now she wrote this for me to see that distract me less, and then I will do a better job. The second point, having frequent exchange with collaborators and colleagues. And needless to say, she's now visiting Professor Anja Janssen in Germany, so that's already an example to show how she developed. And the last one she said is having institutional support from the university. I think that she means for the great department we are both in, so Department of Econometrics, so we really thank the department for helping her to achieve where she is. But there's also typical Phyllis, so normally she gave a structural solution, afterwards she has a smart solution, or more important remark. So after these 3, she has an additional line, says, however, since becoming a mother, I think the most important thing is having childcare support and equal parenting.
And on that note, I would like to thank you all for being here for this act as well. Please take your seats. And now we are going to move to the last award for today, the Open Science Award. And before I move there, I would like to ask you your guess. How many winners do you reckon we have for this award? Well, jammer, it's only one. It's only one, surprise. And I would like to invite onto the stage as the winner of the Open Science Award 2023, Dr. Thomas Peters from EASY. And now I'm going to do this awkward to stand and read the thing. Are you going to sit? Okay, I'm going to sit too. So, the jury report, this is what it holds. Dr. Thomas Peters is an open science advocate and champion on many levels. First, he has made open science the default for the way in which he himself practices science, and he ensures that the data and code underlying his publications are fair and available to anyone who takes an interest in them. Second, Dr. Peters also shares his knowledge of and enthusiasm for open science in the classroom, and he is determined to instill the ethos of open science in future generations of graduates and scientists. Third, he has always seen the general public as an important stakeholder, and he has long made great efforts to bring his insights and analysis as a sports economist to a general audience, thereby broadening the scope of open science from scientist on scientist to a meaningful dialogue from scientists and to the society and back. Fourth, Dr. Peters has been a very active ambassador for open science at both the EASY and the EUR levels, leading and participating in important task forces at both levels. And ERIM is grateful to Dr. Peters for his relentless insistence on open science as a better way to actually conduct science. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Clicks. Great. Now you can see it again. So, Thomas, I mean, it's clear it's really clear you have embraced open science as your default of doing science. So I would really like to ask you what it takes to normalize open science, in your opinion, as an open scholar.
What I think we need is that we all start to realize that it's only wins to have open science. So in my personal case, I think it helps me to organize my own research better, because you know you're going to be open, so you already do the decent work from the very get-go. It helps you to engage with both other scientists who cite your work more, download your data, download your code, send you emails to say, here, there's an error in your code here and there, so you actually learn from that. I think if we think about the problems we face as a scientific community to get society to support us, I think we have no choice but to be open and upfront about what we do. So I think both personally and as a group, we have nothing to lose and everything to gain from open science. And that's what I tell people. I also hope that I'm one of the last winners of this award, because this should be so normal that this award is not needed anymore.
And on that note, I would like to thank you so much. Congratulations. So, unfortunately, we're now coming almost to the closing of the ceremony. But before we do that, I would like to invite onto the stage Dean Werner Brouwer for this last act of today. So, we would like to take today as an opportunity to say goodbye to two of our own. By the end of this calendar year, both Percy and Floor will be stepping down from their roles within the ERIM management team. So I would like to say goodbye to them today in this occasion. And I would like Werner to say a few words. Oh, no, before that, I would like Percy and Floor to please join us on stage.
Because nobody dares without you saying, right?
No. That's a good sign, no?
Absolutely.
That's a good sign, no?
That's absolutely. Okay, I'm going to sit as well then, which is the norm. So just it feels a bit strange to sit and then talk to the audience. But just before starting and talking to Flora and Percy, just highlighting, it was a really impressive meeting, and it was really nice to see so many awards being given to rising or already arrived stars, and I think that's really nice. I think it's also good to just highlight that there are people behind the scenes who make that possible. So I think before moving to the people who actually say goodbye today in some sense or form, it's also good to just give a hand to the people organizing today, including Grisula, for leading this session so well. So.
Yeah, and now I'm getting embarrassed. Let's move on.
And given that we need people to actually do things in order to make things happen and to have other people shine in the era of research, I think it's good to just highlight that we have two people who have contributed for a number of years to ERIM in different roles, some long, some even longer. And I think it's just good to just say a few words about what they contributed to ERIM over the last years. So, Flora, you've been appointed as ERIM's Director of Full-Time Doctoral Education in January of 2021. So that means it's almost 3 years. And it also means that you've been there in a very strange and difficult period that we know as the Corona crisis. You took over from Steven Sweldes, and I think people will miss you in this role for different reasons. And I'll start with the reasons of content, of course. So, important achievements include the implementation of the 5-year PhD trajectory, but also the process of the 2.5 year, so halfway assessment that you implemented and further refined. And I think that one of the other things that is being mentioned is the overall program management, quality assurance, and strengthening the support and guidance for academic job placements. And I think that is one of the really key assets also of the ERIM as an institute. The other thing that you did was redesign the admissions criteria for the program, and I think that really needs mentioning because now it's not only through GMATs, but there's also an alternative route which increases the equality and the accessibility of the program for also people who have difficulties actually doing a GMAT score or finding ways of making that happen. And I think that possibility and offering that is something that is truly, really important. You've also contributed quite a bit to connecting to other leading business schools also in the Netherlands, and I hope that that work will be continued, but I think you were crucial in setting that up, and I think that is something to highlight here today as well. But beyond all those things, I think what especially needs to be mentioned is that we will miss you in this role, of course, not in a general sense, but in this role as a person. And I think all colleagues that I've talked to, they have just highlighted that it has been a great pleasure to work with you. And of course, that especially goes for the staff of ERIM's full-time PhD office. They will miss you in that sense. And the words that are mentioned about you are kindness, intrinsic motivation to improve the quality of education and the overall experience of our PhD community, as well as you contributing to the transparency around decision-making. So I think we really owe you a big, big thank you. And on that note, I really want to thank you on behalf of everyone here for what you've contributed in the past years. And I hope that everyone will join me in thanking you in the usual fashion.
The present will come later.
By now I understand that the flowers come later, but they will be there, Flora. I should have known. Then Percy, the person who loves to be at the center of attention. There we go, Percy. Bear with me. Trip to the dentist, I think that's what your typical word for this is. You were appointed, but I do think we need to do this because you've been appointed as Scientific Director of ERIM and, of course, of RSM's Dean of Research in June 2017. And that means that you've been in this position for 6.5 years. And I think that is something that is truly something that we should just memorize at this moment in time as well. And that also meant that you were the director of graduate studies of ERIM, of course. And I think it is fair to say that you have tremendously contributed to ERIM over the past couple of years. There are a number of things that I'm going to mention. It's impossible to mention all of them because I know that lunch is waiting and I'm keeping you from it. But still, there are some things that I want to mention. The revising of ERIM's journal list. Not an easy thing and a process that you needed to safeguard. You needed to keep all the stakeholders aligned. And I think you did a really good job in actually managing getting that done. So, and that is also something that is really important for the future of ERIM. The revision of ERIM's membership charter is probably something that falls in the same basket. Also not simple, also crucial, and something that you did really well in handling that. Also, for instance, in how to embed IDA and open science principles in that. And I think the importance of that has already been mentioned, but I think cannot be mentioned enough. You operationalized the Dutch Code of Conduct for research integrity also in this particular context. For instance, implementing an internal review board, and I think that is really important. ERIM's Open Science Initiative and active development of the content of ERIM's MOOC in Open Science. Also something that is, I think, really important and something that ERIM can be really proud of, and therefore you as well. Leading the discussions about the development of ERIM 2.0, in which the part-time program was integrated in ERIM's portfolio. Again, I think a really important step in the development of ERIM. 2 successful research assessments. The most recent one being the SAP assessment in 2021. You've been very active also in representing ERIM at the at the university level. I'm going to slow down if you do this. You know me, right? But I think, you know, the way in which you've been the academic lead, for instance, for open and responsible science, did not only help the university as a whole, but I think also the positioning of ERIM within that. And I think that's also a role that you took on next to everything else that you did, and that's really something that is important. Next to all of that, I think what defines you probably also as a person, but also in this role, is that you've always put the interest and the well-being of the PhD students first. And I think you've been very vocal about that, and I think that has created an atmosphere that is truly welcoming and important and warm for PhD students at both of our schools. And I think that is an achievement that perhaps may be the greatest of the ones that you've achieved over that period of time. Finally, I was surprised, of course, to hear this, but many people consider it to be a true joy to work with you. And I can only, of course, emphasize that it's true for me as well. I think, you know, the fact that you're also a champion in terms of doing research yourself really helps in the credibility of with which you have led ERIM. And I think that's also really important. The fact that you cherish the process of doing research, also the research support in many forms is important. But I think what many people give back is that it's not so much about the processes, it's not so much even about the outcomes, even though we've seen great things also on screen today, but that it's especially the people that you care most about. And I think that gives people a very important feeling of being welcomed, of being seen, also as a person. I think we heard a story that it's not only nice always to be in research, can also be difficult, and having people to turn to like you, I think for many people has been really important also in their career. So take that with you once we head towards the end. So the final thing to mention, of course, is that you hate goodbye talks, and with that I think it's time for a lunch.
No,
but
it's not. No,
we
it's
give
not. No,
you
it's not.
first the floor to say a few words as well, both Flora and Percy.
Do you want to go first, Flora?
Yeah, I wanted to thank people with whom I worked. I mean, you can only do a good job if you are well supported. So I want to thank the doctoral team, certainly the full-time team, Aimee, Mio, Kim, and Phoebe, who left us. Also the part-time team, because they help us a lot over the last months. So thank you to all of you. And also thank you to the management team of ERIM, Percy, Krisa, Pilar, and Bex, for supporting the sometimes tough decisions I had to make. You having my back really made all the difference.
Yeah, so it's easy to say that I'm looking forward to what's ahead, which is true, but I'm probably gonna miss a lot of things. The one thing that I will miss most, and Flora and I think a lot alike, so without coordinating, I'm gonna say much of the things that she also said, but I'm gonna miss the team. And I just want to very briefly pause and thank everyone on the team, starting with Miho. Miho, you are our major domo. You are the highest ranking official, the one with the greatest seniority. And we should all respect that a little bit more. Certainly I should respect it a little more, but Miho, arigato. Kim, I called you the PhD whisperer. You are such a great support for people when the churn gets highest and when the fears towards the end rise most. So I'm grateful for your unrelentless support of the PhDs themselves. Also know that I'm personally exceptionally proud of your resilience and the personal development trajectory that you've been on over the last couple of years. So know that has been noted, and I'm really proud of you. Aimee, I'm simply going to call you the Rock, although you have slightly less impressive muscle shoulders than the other Rock, I suppose. But what I mean with that is that you are you're very easy to talk to. You are a level-headed person. You are never afraid to help a colleague in need. And I really think that you are one of the cornerstones in the corner office, so to speak. So thank you very much for all the time that you have given to ERIM. Warda, of course, is our veteran, right? She's been with us for a year and the highest ranking member in the part-time office. So it's amazing how fast Warda has grown and how important she has become for managing and safeguarding the part-time PhD. I really think that the trajectory she has been on and taken on so much in only a year and a half is absolutely amazing. Philippa, I always enjoy interacting with you an awful lot. For you, I just wanted to praise you for your can-do mentality, right? I mean, it's not that life doesn't scare you, but you swallow, you smile, and you say, sure, I'm going to do that, just exactly right now. And I really, really, really appreciate that in you. Vuzala, we haven't been able to interact so much, so I'll call you the newbie, but I really hear many great things about you, and I hope that the part-time office can count on your presence for a long time. Sylvia, you're always calm and collected, and I think you have done a great job stepping in as a team lead and keeping everyone also realizing that, yeah, there are bigger things in life, but it's also important to have someone who's there for you, who can structure your thinking, structure your processes, offer a cup of tea, and talk some common sense into everyone. So you are absolutely great at that, Sylvia. Anna, I just wanted to thank you so much for all your support. It's a close relationship that we have, and another week goes by and we have to make tough decisions on the ESPs or on other things, but it's been always a pleasure to do that together with you. And in reality, when I'm not a very tough person myself, but when I have a tougher streak, then Anna always argues and bargains on behalf of the researchers. So if you're getting money for mediocre projects, it's thanks to Anna. Paolo, and for great projects too, by the way. Paolo, you are our philosopher. We know, I would say thank you for flying ERIM. We know you have a choice. The market for data stewards is absolutely crazy, but I hope that you, as our philosopher data steward, the equivalent of a philosopher king, that you appreciate working for the Thinking Persons Research Institute, and so stay with us, and I hope that you will bloom here. For those of you that follow NBA basketball, many of you will remember the nickname of Karl Malone, the mailman. Brenda, you are the mailman, right? I mean, so, and for those of you that know Karl Malone, that's actually a big positive, right? I mean, so you always deliver on time, and you are a champion of the no-look pass, even when you think when you don't realize what you need, the table, the list, the analysis is in your inbox right at the time when you need it. And I really appreciate you being the strong silent type there. Thank you so much, Brenda. So much appreciated. And I've got two more people on my list. One is Caroline. Caroline, I'm not even sure whether you are here, but the only thing that I have to say for you is to be continued. See you Monday. Leaving us with one person.
No. Two people.
Two people, of course, yes. How could I? Verwa, thank you so much. And that is because Verwa organizes everything always, but not this. And so this is what happens when I go off script, right? I mean, I forget the most important people. Verwa, thank you so much. And that leaves us only with one person, Grisa. And the only thing I have to say there is, and sorry for butchering it, Megalo Evcharisto Giaola.
Oh, okay. You can sit down now. Okay. And I'm not going to practice my Dutch because it's going to be very awkward for everybody. But I think on behalf of the team, I can also say thank you to both of you. And on a very personal note, I'm going to really, really miss you, especially your humor. But we're going to go there later. And I know we're running really late. We're out of time, so no presents on the screen, please. No, not on stage right now. So, okay. After all this sentimental goodbye for us, it's time for really our closing. Thank you so much for being here today. We recognize that the hard work also goes hand in hand with lots of fun and rejuvenation. So I would like to invite you to take the time to congratulate the winners of these ERIM Awards this year. To show appreciation to your colleagues and also to enjoy a lunch before the holidays. So I would like to ask you to make a move to the pavilion for the lunch. We wish you all on behalf of the ERIM office a happy holiday and season's greetings. Thank you so much for being here today.